Now, when you think of it, the Apostle Paul was a very humble man. He was flexible. He says, to the Jew, I became as a Jew.
Good morning, New York City. It is such a beautiful September day today. Although Midtowners, heads up, traffic is going to be bad. Here's why.
That's right. A lot of world leaders in town. We've got President Obama, Putin, the Pope is going to be in town. So roads are going to be closed off on short notice. Make sure you have a couple different ways to get to work.
I'm excited to meet Putin.
Disarmament universally is on the way, or so claims the Watchtower's April 15, 1960 special issue. In this article, they comprehensively detail the unfolding agenda of the United Nations.
The United Nations is the successor and heir of the League of Nations that was set up after World War I. Maxim Litvinov of Soviet Russia submitted a proposal for universal disarmament. It was rejected by the League of Nations, and the conference closed with no real accomplishment for our relief. In his 1959 speech to the UN General Assembly, the Soviet premier reminded his visible and invisible audience of this.
The 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda makes clear there cannot be development without peace and security. And disarmament is integral to achieving peace and security. Weapons fuel the fires of conflict.
At a time when we face greater dangers than ever, the disarmament agenda has stalled in several areas. I call on all states to focus on one overriding truth. The only sure way to prevent the human, environmental, and existential destruction these weapons can cause is by eradicating them once and for all.
Disarmament is a core element of the rules-based international order that the UN stands for. It was a founding principle of the United Nations, and disarmament remains central to its mission today.
We once again have to note that today's discussion is one more step in the opposite direction. At this stage, the main goal of the Security Council should be to create conditions as soon as possible to resume negotiations on the nuclear issue on the Korean Peninsula.
An overarmed world is an unstable and insecure one. Disarmament is critical to creating a safer, more prosperous, more equitable, and more peaceful world.
Since the inception of the United Nations, Watchtower Corporation has been its most secretive supporter as well as its greatest detractor. They achieved this through the sophisticated use of doublespeak, which is defined as deliberately euphemistic, ambiguous, or obscure language. In particular, Watchtower's tactics redefine key words to keep the slaves from figuring out the agenda they are serving.
Who will have the honor of making universal disarmament come true? Men of this world look to men and would assign this honor to men or to a human agency. For instance, they have had cut in a stone wall flanking the plaza of the United Nations in the heart of New York City the prophetic words,
"And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore."
In these words lies the promise of international disarmament.
Notice that Scripture is a mere footnote to the fact this was engraved by the United Nations.
Whoever or whatever agency would bring to fulfillment those soul-stirring words would enjoy an honor indeed and would rightly deserve the thanks of all lovers of life in international peace and brotherhood. Determined to make the United Nations organization that honored agency, and in harmony with the terms of its charter, the United Nations set up a disarmament commission. 12 years it worked, only to produce nothing. Finally, by pressure from a mighty member of its Security Council, the real disarmament talks were removed from the United Nations Disarmament Commission to a 10-nation commission outside the international organization.
In the book Worldwide Security, it states,
Since the number 10 represents completeness of an earthly kind, the 10 men out of all languages of the nations would stand for the symbolic sheep foretold in Matthew.
The most serious obstacles to total disarmament are humanly irremovable. All international efforts, with or without the United Nations, are therefore doomed to failure. Universal disarmament, followed by a warless new world, will come by the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom
of the God of heaven.
Does Watchtower know more than they're leading on? A cryptic passage within this article says,
Where now, Professor?
Man-made moons high up in outer space were circling around the Earth, put into orbit by rockets with terrific thrust. Man-made planets were even orbiting around the Sun, and just the Sunday previous, an 860-pound sphere, rocketed from communist Soviet territory, had crashed into the Moon in the vicinity of the seas of serenity and of tranquility.
NASA now has a new plan for the moon. They're going to bomb it tomorrow morning.
So tonight's big question, why exactly is NASA bombing the moon? And joining me from Los Angeles, educator and former TV host Bill Nye, the science guy, to help us out with it. So Bill, people obviously getting a little extreme about this, saying we're bombing the moon here, but explain the science behind NASA's decision to blast.
What are the two questions that haunt us from the first moments of being able to think? That's right. Are we alone? And where did we come from? These are the two questions that bother everybody since you're a little kid.
And I also saw the people controlling it on that big screen. And I thought it was really cool.
So Jim, when we just saw that white flash, that was the L-Cross shepherding aircraft, as you refer to it, flying into this great big dust cloud.
One conspiracy theory suggests that NASA have had for many years a secret space program, perhaps even a moon base, and that now the proliferation of other countries sending their own satellites up is going to effectively let the cat out of the bag. So one school of thought is that NASA are going to hide the evidence by obliterating their own secret facilities on the moon.
As far as the moon is concerned, I think they found when they got up there that there was already somebody there. And I wouldn't want to say any more than that. But they got out of there and they haven't been back. But I have seen certain documents and read certain reports that indicate that there's somebody already there that knows a lot more than we do.
A detail that seems to be the smoking gun evidence about the existence of ancient alien bases on the moon, and the ultimate proof that NASA has lied about the nature of its lunar missions, as well as the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations, for at least 40 years. A large rectangular structure is seen in the bottom of the crater, and despite the low resolution of the picture that is on the desk, we still can see that it's clearly an artificial structure.
Now, not everyone finds this amusing or interesting. Some on the internet warn, in fact, that the bombing violates space law and may spark an intergalactic war. We'll just have to stay tuned tomorrow morning.
An interesting photograph hangs on the wall of the Sanctuary of the Scottish Rite Masons in Washington, D.C. This photograph shows astronaut Neil Armstrong holding a Masonic apron over his spacesuit. 33rd degree Masons of the world flag Buzz Aldrin presented had been taken on Apollo 11.
Engine arm off. 13 is in. We copy you down, Eagle. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot. And we're getting a picture on the TV.
The incredible lunar temple. European space bosses reveal plan for 50 meters high dome of contemplation. It could be a temple like no other, and with a view that really is out of this world.
For instance, in the documents that I saw, it was stated that President Eisenhower had commissioned a group called the Jason Scholars, which was stated to have been a secret society of scholars, to research the deceptions, lies, facts, truth, and get at the root and the real truth of the alien question. It also stated that there was a group of 12 men formed by NSC Memo 5410, and that the study group was formed by NSC Memo 5411.
And don't misunderstand me, folks. I'm not talking about Jews, I'm talking about the collective body of the Anglo-Aryan race that calls itself the Illuminati. Their exoteric version of this religion is British Israelism, Zionism. There are many more Zionists that are Christians than are Jews. And most Jews don't buy into any of this baloney, ladies and gentlemen, don't even have the slightest idea what I'm talking about any more than most of you do. George Bush is one of these people. George Bush is not a Jew. The Pope is one of these people. The Pope is not a Jew. NASA is a great part of this deception. NASA's been made up by all different kinds of people of all professed different religions. The truth is that none of these people really believe in any religion. When they go to church or they profess a religion, it's because they have to do it to get along in the community, or to get along with their wife, or their relatives, or somebody. All of the same order, ladies and gentlemen. All putting forth the myth that they're going to create a world where all people can get along and live together, and there will be no racism, and no enslavement, and no muggings, and no robbings. The space program is one of the methods that they are using to bring this about.
Is Watchtower simply misdirecting the attention of millions of slaves by redefining key words in their heavenly agenda? And where exactly is this celestial Jerusalem?